Welcome back to another episode of Insider Press C-Suite. We're here at Nedbank to speak to the head of Philanthropy. She's changing the idea of impact investing, so we're thrilled to have this conversation. How are you, Nox?
Hi, Timothy.
Thank you so much for allowing us inside of this wonderful space here.
Thank you for coming through.
Now, when you look back at your journey, did you ever imagine you'd be in a space where you'd be able to contribute so much to what's happening in society?
Yes and no. I think growing up, I was always very socially conscious, socially aware of the inequality, of the disparity. And very early on, I've always known that I wanted to play a role in terms of policy, the alleviation of poverty. But at that point, I guess I figured I'd like to work for institutions such as the World Bank, National Treasury potentially, to try and influence policy. But I found myself in the banking world. But I'm pleased that I'm still able to pursue my passion and working in the space in development and social transformation.
This idea of philanthropy, before we get into what it really means, what it's about, can you think back to a moment like where you grew up, the first time you were able to sort of observe someone making an impact, seeing change actually happen? So take us back to where you grew up.
I think, Timothy, anyone who's grown up in Africa, philanthropy is not a new phenomenon to us. As individuals, it's part of our DNA, it's part of our culture, it's part of our heritage. We're very giving in nature. And I often say that organizations or communities rather, they have sustained themselves way before aid came to Africa, way before large international foundations came to Africa. So communities are able to mobilize resources. Even low-income communities are able to mobilize resources and support each other. So I think we're very philanthropic in nature, but I think we're in a space where we are now appreciating better our own philanthropic efforts. We are not necessarily viewing it from a Western lens, which is refreshing. It's changing the narrative. We are owning the dialogue about African philanthropy and redefining it for ourselves, really.
Now, before you became this sort of powerful head of philanthropy, when you were a teenager, take us back to what you were like. Was there ever a moment when you were able to see yourself contributing, giving back? Were you a leader? Were you shy? What were you like as a teenager?
I think I've always been a leader in many ways.
Okay.
I think having grown up with a very strong mother, someone who was a change agent in her own community, in our community, who reassured us as the kids in the family consistently, just to say that you can do anything that you want to do. You can be whatever it is that you want to be. And any given opportunity, she would consistently ask, do you have anything to contribute? Do you have anything to add? And I think that went a long way in terms of us appreciating that your voice matters. You have something meaningful to say, you have something meaningful to contribute. So never ever hold back. So I think that upbringing has always propelled me to make sure that my voice is heard. So I'm not the person who will always just sit back and go with the flow. I don't mind separating from the crowd, really.
Did you have moments when you were younger, before getting to the space, where you doubted your leadership ability, where you had to really sort of take full ownership, where you questioned whether or not you could actually be this person you are now?
I think getting into corporate, I think as a woman, even in 2017, it's not easy. It is getting better. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, getting into a male-dominated environment, when I started working, I worked in an investment banking environment in global markets. You had to work so much harder to prove yourself, that you're competent, that you're capable, and just getting buy-in from your colleagues, especially your male colleagues. So it definitely has become better for the next generation, but the barriers and the limitations are still there without a doubt. So as women, it's important that we support one another, and when you get to a place where you are able to influence, that you ensure that you make it better for the next cohort of females that are coming through.
You have to give me at least one secret of something that you've used to help you get where you are, something that you kind of employ when you're in these environments that are male-dominated, something that you do.
The old cliche, Timothy, hard work. Hard work, I think for me it's important that your work speaks for itself, so that you don't give anybody ammunition to second guess you. I often say that be diligent, own your brand in the workplace. People need to associate certain values, certain work ethic when they think about you. So I think for me that's always been very important in terms of taking full ownership and taking pride in my work, really.
As the head of Philanthropy, let's talk philanthropy. You've kind of alluded to it earlier in terms of it being kind of in the DNA, being able to sort of impact communities, but your division, head of philanthropy at Nedbank Private Wealth, what does that mean?
We offer investment services, cash management, as well as fiduciary services to donors, to corporates, as well as to non-profit organizations. So we basically provide philanthropic advice to wealthy individuals, wealthy families, as well as large corporates in terms of their philanthropic giving, helping them with their strategies, ensuring that they are impacting in the right places and investing in the right places. And also we have a very strong philosophy of long-term sustainability, financial sustainability. How do we ensure that your giving as a donor is sustainable in the long term, that as a family, as an individual, you're able to leave a lasting legacy, and as a non-profit organization, just optimizing your resources.
Got it. Your mandate, is there a return? Do you expect to have a sort of return? Because you would think sort of social impact would be the ultimate goal, but is there a financial return in terms of the mandate?
So we're all about financial sustainability through investments. So we invest the resources on behalf of our clients into the mainstream markets to ensure that we grow those portfolios, which in turn enables the clients to invest more and have more at their disposal to invest into the projects and into the communities and into the areas that they want to impact.
How many people are in your division?
It's a decentralized structure, Timothy. So we work with teams across the different regions. Our business is a national business. We have a national footprint. So we work with teams across the different regions.
The type of people you enjoy working around as a leader, for young people watching and they're hoping to sort of work inside of this sort of philanthropic space, what type of people do you want around you?
People that are passionate about social transformation, people that are passionate about people. I often say that there are technical skills that you can upskill in, but if you don't have the passion, that's very difficult to upskill in that. So I'm always energized by young people around me that are so fired up for making a difference, really who are owning that making a difference, not deferring it to somebody else.
And do you find it easy or is it difficult, to attract this type of talent?
I think it's easier, definitely with the younger generation. I think for them, they don't see it as a separation between a career and their giving back. It's all infused. Hence, we're seeing so many social enterprises and so many social entrepreneurs. So for them, it's a lifestyle. How do I make a career? How do I make a living out of solving some of the social issues? How can I apply my talents, my skills into solving some of the social issues in our country?
I'm going to give you the opportunity to offer some powerful personal branding tips to any young woman who's hoping to be in your position, the head of philanthropy, because it sounds really good, the position you're in. So you've built your personal brand. You're the type of leader that people sort of enjoy working around. I had a chance to speak to some of your colleagues. People enjoy working around you. I need at least 3 things, okay? At least 3 things for young women to do to help build their personal brand.
Pursue your passion.
Okay.
Without a doubt, pursue your passion. And
something you really love.
Something that you really love.
Okay.
And without a doubt, if you pursue your passion, you will excel at that. And you will, opportunities almost find you when you pursue your passion.
I like that.
And secondly, preparation. I often say that there's a quote that I love that says, luck is opportunity meets preparation. So you can't prepare when the opportunity is in front of you. So you need to be prepared. Prepare in advance, invest in yourself. That is so important. Invest in yourself, preparation, and just hard work. Hard work, work ethic.
When you say hard work, do you work
brand.
on weekends? How do you balance this whole, because this hard work thing, I get it. But at the same time, do you have a family?
No, don't have a family as yet.
Okay,
So I think in any one person's work life cycle, You do have opportunities where you're potentially single, you don't have family as yet, and there you're able to put in the hours, and that you can't get away from, because at some point you're going to have to pay your school fees. So you'd rather front load it, do it early on in your career. And I often say to young people as well, it's important to establish yourself as a specialist, as an expert, as an authority in a particular discipline before you generalize. So that is important as well, as opposed to trying to generalize too early on in your career.
When all of this sort of said is done, when you've had this sort of head of philanthropy, you look back on it, what would you like to be known for?
I'd like to be known for challenging the status quo, for contributing in a meaningful way to the transformation of our country, but also to the personal transformation of people and individuals around me in the workplace and in my private spaces, because I often say that transformation starts with the individual. And so I think there's a lot of work that we still need to do in terms of shifting mindsets. And I take that, I own that, I take it quite seriously, and I'm constantly challenging people and individuals around me to extend the lens with which they view the world. So I think for me that is important, and that's something that I continue to invest my energy in. And lastly, I think just for appreciating, acknowledging and loving people. And I think that's probably the most important one. I think whether it be in the workplace and whether it be in your social circles, it's important that we are building each other on a constant basis, helping each other to grow, stretching each other, and just appreciating each other, acknowledging each other as human beings, as friends, as colleagues, as family.
Lastly, I'm imagining you get a chance to see people's heart. They put their heart on the line that I want to give back. Do you feel hopeful for South Africa and Africa? Because you're in a very unique position to see people who are making a difference.
Yes, without a doubt, Timothy. I'm quite privileged to be in the role that I'm in, where we are assisting individuals that have large amounts of wealth to give back. And as I said earlier, South Africans are a very giving nation. So individuals give in large quantums to development in South Africa, and our research speaks to that. We conduct a research every 2 to 3 years into giving by high net worth individuals, and we estimate that to be at about 8 billion rand for the year of 2015.
And is it growing? Is it growing?
So it is growing. It has been at an upward trajectory. So that is always really encouraging and reassuring that people are taking a leadership role in terms of owning some of the work that is required to transform our society and our country.
Nox, thank you so much for joining us inside of her C-Suite.
Thank you, Timothy.
Continue making a massive difference to the country. We'll be back next week with another episode of Inside of Her C-Suite as we talk to women who are shaping the landscape and making an impact just like this woman in philanthropy.